IESE Business School. Please put the plus in chat if you can hear me and sound is good. Perfect. My name is Yuna and I am happy to introduce you Chen Kan Yang. He is Associate Director at MBA Admission and Career Services at IESE Business School. Now I'd like to turn it over to Chen Kan Yang. 1 minute, please.
Hello, testing. Can everyone hear me? Great. So I got a yes from Tate. Well, first of all, welcome to both of you, Alexi and Tate. So thank you for participating at this webinar. So let me first of all call up my presentation. There it is. All right. So first of all, I would like to start with a quick self-introduction so that you know who is presenting before you. So again, my name is Chen Han Yang. I'm an Associate Director in the MBA Admissions team. I'm actually from Singapore. I'm Singaporean by nationality, but currently based in Barcelona. So just to share a bit of my background, I actually have a bachelor in mechanical engineering from Singapore as well. And I actually worked for 5 years before I did the MBA at IESE Business School. So my 5 years was mainly in the area of supply chain, working for Singapore Airlines. After the MBA, I actually successfully switched into strategy consulting for a boutique consulting firm called Global Praxis, where I worked for about 4 years, having a very international career, working in places like Japan, China, Saudi Arabia, multiple times in Europe, and even in Africa. But towards the end of my consulting career, I was getting a bit tired of the consulting lifestyle. So I happened to be in Barcelona for a project. I heard about this opening at the school. So I decided to go for another switch, and I joined IESE Business School 2 years ago in May 2012. So now I shall go straight into my webinar, my presentation about the school. So first of all, like what exactly or who is IESE? So actually, for this slide, you see a nice picture of our North Campus here in Barcelona. Now, to really know who is IESE, I would have to touch upon our mission. So our mission, if I put it quite simply, is to improve society, to change the world, to make the world a better place. But obviously, there's many ways to do that, and IESE, we choose to do it through what we do best in management education. So our mission literally is to transform business and society by educating business leaders, by helping them become better business leaders, people with a desire, with a spirit of service, wanting to serve, and also with a global character, understanding global business, and ultimately, more important, they have a strong desire to make a positive impact on society. So based on our mission, our MBA program is actually developed on 5 pillars. The first pillar is to teach from a general management perspective. So what this means is we teach to help our students understand the impact throughout any business organization of any decision. So students will appreciate that whatever decision they take is going to have an impact not just only within the department where they're working in, but it's going to have an impact throughout the entire organization. Ultimately, and more importantly, we also help our students to think big on a global scale. But even when they're thinking big, they are always putting people first. So it's a focus on people, always understanding that decisions affect people first. And sometimes even whatever decision that you need to take, you might first have to consider the people as well, the impact on people, whether the people that are involved have the necessary capabilities to execute whatever strategy that you're coming up with. And of course, we focus a lot on quality of teaching. So we demand a lot of our faculty to give the best quality of teaching. And all this is to bring about a transformational impact on students. So we believe that students will leave the MBA program becoming a total different person from when they started. Now, this strong focus on our mission and based on that 5 pillars, bringing about a transformational impact on our students, have helped us to get top rankings within the world. So depending on which publication that you follow, we are within the top 10 ranking of business schools globally. Now I would like to touch a bit about the structure of the full-time MBA program. Now, it is what we call a 2-year MBA program, which is strictly only 19 months long. But within this 19 months, the first year is what we call building a foundation, whereby there will be courses. It's a fixed curriculum, and you'll be learning all about the different functions of an organization. You will do classes in accounting, in finance, in marketing, in operations. And this is what we mean by the general management perspective. After the first year, you will go for a summer internship. And when you return in the second year, this is where you actually have the opportunity to customize the MBA program according to your needs. So in the second year, the program is based on elective, whereby you have a chance to actually pick courses that are of your interest or that you believe would be helpful to pursue your future career, to develop a future career. And also within the second year, we also have options like you can go for overseas modules in Sao Paulo, New York, Shanghai, or Nairobi. You also have an option to go for exchange program. Now, throughout the MBA program, we use heavily the case method. Now, we use this for almost 80% of the curriculum. So perhaps one question is, why do we like to use the case method so much? Because in the MBA program, we are not just teaching you about business management knowledge, but more importantly is how to solve real problems. So in the case method, you will actually be discussing in class, moderated by a professor, on how to actually solve a real business case. So it's a lot about taking decisions, taking actions, and debating and arguing with your classmates about what is the best way and what works and what does not work. So it's not just about learning the theory, but really applying that into a real situation. Every year, we only have one intake of about 280 students. And of this intake, we actually divide them into what we call 4 sections of about 70 students each. And further within each section, we will actually assign each student into a team of about 7 to 8 students. Now, these 7 to 8 students will be diversified, coming from different parts of the world. We have about 50 different nationalities represented in class. So most likely in this group of 7 to 8, you will be having someone from North America, from South America, from Europe, of course, and even from Asia, and perhaps Middle East or Africa. Now, every morning, this team will be having a team meeting whereby you will be discussing together with the rest of the team the cases that are going to be discussed in class for the rest of the day. But then we also focus a lot on personalized attention. So for every team, there is always a team mentor assigned, which is typically a faculty member. So this faculty member is looking after each and every of the students in his team, making sure that they are doing well in class, following well, coping with the MBA program, and generally making sure that they are developing themselves in the way that we intended to. Another feature of our MBA program is also the bilingual MBA, whereby you actually have the chance to get MBA both in English and Spanish. Now, first of all, to apply for the MBA program for admissions, knowledge of Spanish is not required. Me personally, I did the MBA without speaking a single word of Spanish. But during the first year, we will actually be providing business language classes for students to pick up the language. And it is a structured program starting from Module 1 to Module 12. So Module 1 will be for absolute beginners like myself. And as you go along the Spanish program, you can reach up to the last one at Module 12. At the end of Module 12, you will take a proficiency test in Spanish, so that once you pass that test, what is interesting is in the second year, some of the electives are taught in Spanish. So you can actually pick to do some of those electives taught in Spanish. And if you meet the credit requirement, which is only 2 credits taught in Spanish, you will graduate with a bilingual MBA. Another feature of our MBA program is also a strong focus on entrepreneurship. So in the first year, which is part of the core curriculum, we already have a module which is an introduction to entrepreneurship, to basically teach students that entrepreneurship is not only for people who wish to start up their own business. It's actually about a mindset whereby every one of us, even within a corporate organization, we could also be entrepreneurial. But of course, for those who are really interested to further learn about entrepreneurship or to really hope to be able to set up their own business in the future, we also have elective courses in the second year. We, starting this year as well, this summer, we are also launching a new summer entrepreneurship experience. So just now I mentioned that after the first year, all students will have to do a corporate internship. So starting this year, we are offering students that instead of doing a corporate internship, they could also do a summer entrepreneur experience. So what this really means is they have 2 options. One is to actually work on their own business plan. So they spend the summer actually developing turning their own business idea into a concrete business plan. Or the second option is actually to say that they are interested to participate in this entrepreneurship experience, but if they do not have any business idea of their own, the school will actually partner them with a startup so that they actually get first-hand experience of working in a startup to understand how to grow a business. The school also provides support to help students and alumni to start up their own business. For example, we have a capital seed fund called Finaves, whereby it is possible for alumni to actually get some capital seed money to start their own business. The students or alumni will also have access to our Business Angels network, whereby they are actually able to present their business idea to real investors who are part of the network to get further investment financing. And of course, throughout the MBA program, we also have a range of different activities to help students to reach out to investors or to network with people of similar ideas to get more to get their business ideas. Now, part of our mission is to expose students globally to understand business on a global scale. So for this, like I mentioned before, you can have an option of going for exchange. As you can see, we have an exchange agreement with 29 different business schools around the world. So it's an opportunity for you to spend 1 term actually studying in a different country, gaining firsthand how businesses are done in different parts of the world. In addition to that, we also have our overseas modules, as mentioned before. This is the difference between the exchange program and the overseas module is that this overseas module, the duration is slightly shorter. It is only for 2 weeks long, versus for the exchange program that is for 1 term, which is typically about 10 weeks. And another difference is that for these overseas modules, These are actually electives that are actually taught by and managed by IESE, just that we bring you outside of our Barcelona campus. Versus for an exchange program, you will actually be attending classes that are managed and taught by the other business school. And of course, the MBA experience is also not just about studying in class, but it's also about clubs as well. So we also have a whole range of clubs. We have both clubs, for example, in sports for students just to relax, to recharge their energy after a long day of classes. Or we also have, more importantly, like professional clubs, whereby students interested in the different sectors can find resources and additional help to help them look for a job or an internship in specific sectors. We also have a very strong alumni network, counting about 40,000 and more at the moment, over 100 over different countries, with local chapters that there's counting like up to 30. Now, what is quite important about alumni network is that we actually have an alumni association whose full-time job is actually to keep in touch with our alumni. And they do that by organizing events around the world. So the last count, our alumni association actually organized over 200 over different events around the world, which is what we call continuous education program. So we actually fly professors to different cities around the world, and then we invite our alumni to attend so that they actually have a chance to meet up with each other, network, and at the same time also attend a session, an academic session by a professor. And every year, we also organize big alumni reunions. For example, we have an MBA alumni reunion that happens in Barcelona every year. And we also have what we call a global alumni reunion, whereby it rotates between 1 year in Barcelona, 1 year in Madrid, and another year will be in a place outside of Spain. So the last time we had a global reunion outside of Spain, it was in Sao Paulo, whereby more than 1,000 over alumni from around the world actually flew to Sao Paulo to join us in this alumni reunion. And the one before that was in New York. Now, a very important part of the MBA is also to help students get a better job after the MBA. So for that, we have a career services team that is totally dedicated towards our MBA students. Now, each team, the team members. Hello? Okay, the video camera is back. So each team member actually looks after a specific sector. For example, there's someone who's specializing in consulting, someone who's specializing in banking, someone who's specializing in the energy sector, in the healthcare sector, and the retail and consumer goods sector. So as a team, they also organize activities to basically help students to get in touch with companies. And they do mainly two big groups of activities. One would be what we call a career forum, whereby they actually invite companies to come on campus to interact with our students. And over 1 year, they will be organizing 3 such career forums. So that means that over the 2-year MBA program, there will be 6 such career forums. In addition to that, there are also specific career fairs which are targeted at certain geographical location. For example, we are also organizing a Latin American career forum, and partnering with other European business schools, we are also offering a career fair in London, hosted by London Business School, focused on careers in Asia. Now, another group of activity that is also very important to help students get in touch with companies is what we call career tracks, whereby for companies that do not come on campus to Barcelona, we actually bring our students to meet them. So for such tracks, we organize multiple tracks throughout the year and to different locations. To Switzerland to meet the healthcare companies, for example, to Brazil for careers in Latin America, to Silicon Valley to meet startups, to London to meet the big banks, and to Dubai to meet. Now, this is a slide just to show some of the top recruiting companies last year at IESE. So as you can see, there's a mixture of both consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Roland Berger, and also banks like Credit Suisse, American Express, which is finance related, and also industrial firms like Amazon, Lilly, which is a healthcare, and Novartis. So with that, I end my webinar at this stage. Just to repeat my contact details there, if you wish to reach out to me in the future. There's also a couple of links that you might find useful, our MBA website, and also our career services website, where you can find the latest employment report. You can also follow us at Twitter, and also we also have a Facebook page. And so that is my last slide for this webinar. I would like to leave this time now for any questions that any of you might have. Does anyone have any questions? You might want to type it out, and then I can reply if you wish to. Okay, I have a question now. What is the average age of student? The average age of our student in class is about 27 to 28 over the years. So we accept students ranging from about 25 up to sometimes even about 34. But on average, it's about 28. Okay, a question from Tate. There is an open day on June 27th in our Barcelona campus. It is an open day, so there is, I would say that session will be providing more information than what is available today. So first of all, if you participate in that open day, you will get to visit our campus, which unfortunately today you are unable to see. I only managed to show 2 photos. But more importantly, on that open day, we will actually have a professor, actual faculty member, conduct a case session with our participants. So participants will actually receive the case beforehand. They will have to read it, and on the actual open day, they will get a chance to try out the case method that I mentioned before. You know, how the dynamics actually work. How does that case discussion actually work in class? Of course, you will also be having a presentation about the MBA program. That will be quite similar to what you saw today, but we also invite our career services team to provide more information about the services that they offer to our students. And finally, one other thing that will happen on the June 27th open day is we will actually have current students as well as alumni to actually join us, so that we will have a question and answer panel with them as well. So you can also ask them questions that you feel might be perhaps better to ask them. So a follow-up question from Tate. Yes, I would say it would definitely be very good if you could attend this open day, because we seriously believe that the best way to really know whether a school is the best fit for you is to visit it, so that you can see the campus for yourself, you can interact with us, and also experience that case method. So I think it is definitely worthwhile if you could come to Barcelona. I have another question here from you. Yeah, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. The average cost. So the full-time MBA program, the tuition fees For the complete 2-year program, it's about 73,000 euros. So that is 73,000. That is not including living expenses. So for living expenses, students typically budget about 1,500 euros per month. So if you calculate that for 19 months, I think tuition fees plus living expenses will come up to about 100,000 euros. Are there any other questions from any of the participants? All right, in case if there are no more questions. Okay, there's a new question coming in. Okay, 2 questions. First question is it possible to include living expenses in the loan? And the answer is unfortunately no. So first of all, I assume that we are talking about the global loan that is mentioned on our website. So we do have available this global loan that is in partnership with a local Spanish bank called Banco Sabadell. Unfortunately, this global loan is only for tuition only. So how it works is you can finance up to 80% of the complete tuition fees. So what is not included is actually the initial deposit. So assuming if you apply to IESE and you are successfully admitted, we will require you to pay over 2 payments, a total of 15,000 euros, 15,000. This 15,000 euros is to secure your place in the program, but they are actually part of the tuition fees. So this 15,000 will actually be part of, it will be actually about 20% of the tuition fees. Once you have paid out this 15,000 euros, you can actually finance the rest of the tuition fees with this global loan. Of course, the bank will be asking you for certain documents to check, to assess your credit risk. But then if everything goes well and they approve your loan application, you can finance up to 80%, like I mentioned. The conditions of the loan is for a term of 8 years. The first 2 years while you're doing the MBA, the principal or the capital is deferred. So every month while you're doing the MBA, you only need to pay interest. And that is for the first 24 months. So after you have graduated, you have graduated from MBA, you have another 6 years, then to start paying back the principal plus interest. Something that is also interesting about this loan is you are not obliged to provide a guarantee for the loan. So you by yourself, without a second co-signer, can actually apply for this loan. But unfortunately, living expenses is not included. There's another question about cross-program. I would understand this cross-program perhaps as the exchange program. So the exchange program happens, is taking place only in the second year. So in the first year of the MBA program, the curriculum or your classes are all completely done here in our Barcelona campus. So in the second year, you have the option to go either in the first term of the second year for exchange or in the second term of the second year for exchange, but we can only go once. Perhaps one question about how the exchange program works is, first of all, it is optional, it is not mandatory. So during the first year, by the end of the second term, you will have the option to apply for exchange. So you basically say that I want to apply to go for exchange, and you would have to indicate your preference of schools. So my first choice is this school, my second choice is this other school, so on and so forth. And when it finally comes to the allocation of which students going to which school for exchange, that would be based purely on your grades during the first two terms of the first year in the MBA program. So in theory, if there is a school that you would really like to go for, you should study really hard during the first two terms to make sure you get good grades, and then you will have a strong chance to get the place to the exchange school. I do not know if this answers the question about the cross program. I have a question here about the average amount of tuition available. Is this question to ask what is the average amount of tuition fees that can be financed by the loan? I would say before this year, the bank was actually granting the loan to every student who were admitted into IESE. So actually, prior to this year, the loan was almost like a guaranteed loan. So as long as you're admitted to the program, you are able to finance the tuition fees with this loan. But starting this year, the bank is a bit more strict now. So like I mentioned before, they will be requiring certain documents from each applicant to do some risk profiling to decide how much they will be willing to borrow. But on average, this is a difficult question. I would say up to now, most of the time, it is really up to the student to decide how much they want to borrow. So for example, I mentioned that you can finance up to 80% of the tuition fees, but that is not a mandatory amount. So for example, if you happen to have some savings that you prefer not to take on such a big loan, you can obviously borrow less from the bank and finance the rest of the tuition fees with your own savings. Okay, the amount of scholarship. So we do have scholarship available for students to apply. It is up to a maximum of 30,000 euros. And on average, every year, there are about 20 to 30 students who are awarded with scholarships. They are managed by us. The average amount really varies, but like I said, the maximum is up to 30,000 euros. And one point to add about the scholarship, again, unfortunately, living expenses are not included. So the scholarship are awarded purely towards tuition fees. There's another question. Does IESE have student housing options, or are students responsible to find their own housing? The answer rather is students are responsible to find their own housing. So unfortunately, we do not have any dormitories available on campus. So what students typically do is they get together, about 3-4 of them, to rent an apartment in the city and then split the rent. So this is the most common option. But I understand from some current students that there are also some student residences available in the city. whereby you can also consider staying there. But these are student residences run by organizations that are independent of IESE. Okay, a question on scholarship. Can anyone apply, and are they based on merit, or does student financial situation factor into it as well? The answer is yes, anyone can apply, and they are indeed based on merit. So I would say the first consideration is purely on merit, but then after that, the scholarship committee does factor in financial situation. But the first prerequisite is it must be a stellar candidate. So I think the basic answer is scholarships are awarded based on merit. Okay, another question. Does IESE provide visa help for partners? The answer is yes. So we will provide, we actually provide visa support for all students, and by virtue of marriage, their wife will also be entitled for the same visa. So once you are admitted, we will provide you with the necessary documents to prove that you are an admitted student at IESE Business School, and you actually use that to apply for a student visa at the nearest embassy of Spain. But please note that the visa support will only be for partners who are legally married. For example, girlfriends probably are not supported by the embassy for getting a visa. Placement test. Okay, we do require for admissions, we do require that applicants submit either a GMAT test, or starting from this year, we are going to accept the GRE as well. Unfortunately, we do not have any IESE specific exam that applicants could take. So we will require either the GMAT or the GRE. While waiting for the next question, I just want to add on a bit about the partners. So every year we do have quite a bit of students who come and join our MBA program with their partners. And so we do indeed have a partners club whereby they have a social and support network as well. So while their partners are busy studying in the MBA program, doing cases every day, the other partners could also get together, and from what I understand, every week they would organize some social activities, perhaps to either visit a museum in Barcelona, or to get together to have lunch or to have coffee. I believe sometimes they even organize what they call like cooking exchange, whereby all the partners from different nationalities actually take the chance to actually showcase a particular dish from their home country. Should you retake the TOEFL exam if you have a score of 99? Actually, we are in the process of revising our English requirement. So we are starting from this year, we are going to recommend that you should score about 105, but we can be flexible on the English standard. So if you already have done a TOEFL exam, you have a score close to 105, you can still apply. And what happens is we will be evaluating your English level through the interview. And if you feel that it is not sufficient, you might be required to retake the TOEFL exam. Or sometimes for other students, we might also recommend that they also do an intensive summer English language class just to make sure that their English level is sufficient for the MBA program. Now on English, we are a bit concerned because of the case method. As I mentioned before, it is an active classroom discussion. So each student should be comfortable to be able to understand what their classmates are saying, to follow the discussion, and also be comfortable to contribute back, to speak out in class, to contribute towards the discussion. So for this, not just the reading, but the speaking and the listening of English level is quite important for us. Okay, I have a question. Does the English requirement also influence the scholarship? I would say the answer is no. So the scholarship decision is given by a scholarship committee. So like I mentioned before, scholarships are based on merit. So the scholarship committee will consider different factors. For example, like the university undergraduate GPA. We also look at the CV to look at what is the work experience. And we also look at extracurricular activities. So basically, overall, we are looking at things that the candidate, the applicant has done, and which is able to highlight his business leadership qualities, and of course, as well as the academic qualities. So on the academic part, like I mentioned, the university GPA, and also the GMAT score does become quite important. For admissions, we actually do not impose any minimum GMAT requirement. We do share the average GMAT score of the class over the years, which is about 670 to 680. But if you are serious, I mean, if you really would wish to get a scholarship, a high GMAT score would be very helpful towards that. So on average, you should aim to score above 700 to stand a good chance of getting a scholarship. But even then, it is still quite competitive. Do I have any advice or insight for someone who is on the fence between an MBA or an executive MBA? Okay, in general or personally, I would say that a full-time experience is much better. Of course, I understand that that involves leaving the job, so that means going without income for 2 years, especially if you're talking about MBA program. And also you have to deplete your savings to support the living expenses. So financially, it is a big burden. But however, if it is possible for someone who can afford it, I would say it is a much better experience. Why do I say that? Because you are really focused on developing yourself during a full-time MBA program. You can be focused on the learning, versus if you are doing an executive part-time MBA program, quite often like the demands or the stress of work might distract you from the learning. And of course, the other part is also the experience as well. To spend really 19 months studying every day with your classmates, I think the network, the personal relationship that is formed, the bonds that you have are much stronger than versus a part-time program whereby people just come together for class. Sometimes perhaps it's after work, and right after class, everyone goes home. So I think on the part of networking, building a strong bond with your classmates, and also for the better learning experience, I would recommend a full-time MBA over a part-time executive. But of course, it depends a lot on the personal situation. So if finances is really a problem, quitting a job is really not an option, then an executive MBA is obviously a good option to go. Okay, a follow-up question. Is there no full-time executive MBA program? At IESE, we do not have any full-time executive MBA program. We do have 3 different modes of MBA program at IESE. One is the full-time program, which I have just presented about. We do have a part-time executive MBA, but that is the local Spanish market. Why do I say that? Because first of all, the format. Classes take place every Friday afternoon as well as Saturday morning. So it is really not ideal for anyone who is not based here in Spain to be traveling to Barcelona every week just for 2 days of classes. And in addition, our executive MBA program, part of it is taught in Spanish, so language requirement of Spanish or proficient knowledge of Spanish is required for that program. So that is the second mode of MBA program that we have. We have a third mode, which is what we call a modular program, MBA program. Now that program, the format is for every 2 months, there will be full-time classroom sessions for 2 weeks. So participants will actually be coming to Barcelona for 2 weeks to study full-time during the 2 weeks. After that, they will return back to their home country, continue working, doing some work from a distance, and 2 months later, they would gather together again for another 2-week module. But why we call it a global executive MBA program is because besides studying in Barcelona, there are also modules that will be taking place in New York, where we have a campus, to Silicon Valley, to Sao Paulo, and even to Shanghai. So actually, students will be having classes all around the world. Now, for these 3 different modes of MBA program, the age profile is also slightly different. So the full-time MBA program that I shared before, the average age profile is about 28. For the part-time executive MBA program, it is slightly older at about early 30s. And for the global executive MBA, it is in the late 30s. So on average, the age is 37, and participants have on average about 14 years of work experience. So just coming back to the question, for someone who are in the early 30s with about 8 years of work experience, unfortunately, I would say our full-time MBA program is the only program that is more suitable. Or unless if that person is based in Barcelona, then perhaps they could also consider our executive part-time MBA program. Are there any more questions? Thank you. So if there are no more questions, I guess this webinar will be ending here today. But again, on the slide, you have my contact email. So if any other questions happen to come to your mind after today, please feel free to drop me an email anytime. You're most welcome. All right. I would say that's it for today. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. I hope it was useful to help you learn more about IESE and to understand our MBA program. Great. Bye-bye, everyone.